My next guest fought the power and won. Kara Eastman is a social worker with more than 20 years of experience. She is president and CEO of the Omaha Healthy Kids Alliance. She is a member and vice chair of the Board of Governors of Metropolitan Community College in Nebraska. And as of her recent primary victory, she is the Democratic candidate for Congress in Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, and she joins us now. First of all, Kara, thanks for coming on the program.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no, I was delighted to see, to read of your win. I was delighted with your agenda, which includes Medicare for All and other robust changes to our social safety net and the economic rules of the road we live by. At least that's the way I would put it. And most of all, I was delighted to see you go up against the establishment-backed candidate, former member of the House, and win with such a progressive agenda in Nebraska. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Secondly, tell us a little bit. Most of our listeners will not be familiar with your district, so tell us a little bit about it, if you would.
Sure. Well, we have 3 congressional districts in Nebraska. I am in the 2nd district, which encompasses all of Omaha in Douglas County. And then there's a little bit of Sarpy County to the south of us that wasn't gerrymandered that's still in the district. This is usually declared a Republican-leaning district, although we don't actually have that many more Republicans than we do Democrats. And we actually have a lot of registered independents, so about 100,000 registered independents in the district. It's a very winnable district. I consider it still to be a swing district. And we are one of the districts that gave an electoral college vote to Barack Obama in 2008. So we have been a blue dot, and we can be again.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And secondly, and by the way, I do want to interject, I've been to Omaha, and it's a very, very nice place. I really like the city. But secondly, you were up against a candidate that was, in my opinion, well-funded, had establishment backing, was on the DNC's red to blue list, got financial and other backing. You won, you defeated him. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the logic that the DNC and others have used to back people like your candidate, like your former opponent, Brad Ashford, who lean more conservative, who are, more in the conservative Democrat line. Their argument is always that in a district like yours, which can go either way, the safest and most strategic way to go is to pick a Democrat who doesn't seem too different from a Republican. But I guess the way I would put it is maybe then in their minds he'll slip through or something. I don't believe that. I don't think, obviously you don't either. Why is that reasoning wrong?
Well, I think in a district like ours, the conventional wisdom is we run a conservative Democrat because that's the only kind of Democrat that can win. And what we've seen time and time again is that's not necessarily true. Voters in the district are very clear about what they're seeking, and they're looking for somebody who's going to stand up for their values. People are afraid right now. They're afraid of what's happening with healthcare. There's a lot of uncertainty, and the voters are telling me, because we knocked over 60,000 doors in the primary, and so I've had a chance to talk to a lot of people, but voters are talking about their fear, their uncertainty, they're struggling. And as a social worker who's been working in the community for about 13 years, I understand firsthand the needs of the community and know where government works and where it fails in our community, and feel like I have a pretty good understanding of what the voters are looking for. I think they're looking for authenticity and integrity and just somebody who's going to stand up and fight for them.
Let's talk about that fear for a second, that voter fear that you're talking about. I always go back to a couple statistics. One of them is the study that was done showing that nearly half of all Americans would be unable to come up with $400 for a financial emergency, and more than 2/3 of Americans would be unable to come up with $1,000 for an emergency. And I've mentioned on this program that I had some surgery a couple months ago that cost me $3,500. And that's not at all unusual. under our current system. There's also another study that came out a week or two ago saying that nearly half of all Americans are unable to meet their basic expenses, their living expenses defined as healthcare, rent, and food. So we've got a lot of people living in financial uncertainty out there. In the meantime, we've got all the pundits telling us that the economy is doing great. So when you go out and you talk to your potential constituents in the second congressional district there in Nevada, it sounds like they don't tell you they're doing great.
Right. In Nebraska.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
You said Nevada, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. No, I'm picturing it in my mind. Sorry.
It's all right. Voters are singing a little bit of a different tune. They are aware, people are smart, and they are aware that the tax cut that the Republicans passed was not for them. That even though people may have seen a very slight increase in their wages or in a bonus, that they also see that their premiums have gone up. I mean, the reason that I'm running for Congress is because of my mother's own healthcare bills. She was prescribed a drug during her 5th diagnosis of cancer in her lifetime. And this was just in 2016. She was prescribed a drug that was $2,500 for one single pill. And in talking to me about this, you know, I said, well, I run a nonprofit. My husband's in academia. Like, we can't afford to give you $2,500 for a pill. And she was saying, well, that's in addition to the $800 that she was already paying in prescription drugs every month. And that was with Medicare coverage. So at this time where we're talking about repealing or replacing the Affordable Care Act, I wasn't hearing about, I don't think we were hearing about people and the impact that our healthcare system and the dysfunctional system that we have was having on people. And you're right, there are so many people. We are all just like one deployment, one layoff, one illness away from bankruptcy in our own families. And to me, that's not fulfilling the American dream. We need to make sure that we are providing for each other and making sure that we can all thrive in a society that we all care about and love. But more importantly, we need to make sure our kids have these things in front of them, that they're able to survive, that they're not just we're living paycheck to paycheck, but rather that they can get ahead in our and thrive in an economy that works for them as well.
So what are some, Medicare for All is one of the ideas you backed. What are some other things that you would fight for as a member of Congress?
Well, I've seen too many people at the doors and in my work at Omaha Healthy Kids Alliance that are working 2 or 3 jobs in order to put food on the table. And so when we hear from the Republicans that unemployment is so low, wages are also pretty low. And we need to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour. It is very difficult to live in any city in the United States, even in Omaha, on $9, $12 an hour for jobs that, and so that's one way I think that we could actually do a great service to the American public.
And again, we're talking with Kara Eastman, a Democratic candidate for Congress in the 2nd District of Nebraska, which is nowhere near Nevada, I might add. So when you go out, you talk about the kind of ideas that you support, $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, and so on. What kind of reaction do you get?
Most people, when we talk about the right to health care, that health care shouldn't be a privilege for the wealthy, or when we talk about the fact that people should be able to get a job and know that they're going to be able to put food on the table, buy a home, take a vacation, these are points that resonate with most people, with the majority of people that we talk to out in the district and at their doors. So these are very common sense solutions to problems in our country. They're not extreme, and actually they do save the country money in a number of ways. What we keep hearing is like, oh, how are you going to afford all this stuff? Well, how are we affording what we're doing right now? We don't have people covered. We have people who don't have access to health care. That costs our country way too much. We are spending too much on health care, and we have to start being fiscally conservative and responsible.
You know, I love your connection, your linking of Medicare for All with being fiscally responsible, because it is a much more, not only is it much more humane, it's a much more cost-efficient way to do it. And when people try to frighten, I worked on this issue with the Bernie campaign, when people try to frighten Americans with, oh, your taxes are going to go up, or how are we going to pay for it? My answer is simple. We'll take all that money you're giving to the insurance companies, and we'll use some of it to create Medicare for all, and you can keep the rest. That's how we'll do it.
That's right.
So now I want to get back to this question of how Democrats should run in districts like yours, districts that can go either way, Republican or Democrat. You get this argument, this sort of a Democratic establishment argument that we talked about earlier, that you need to go more conservative, and yet their candidates have not done well over the last 10 years. Might do better this year because of so many people hate Trump, but the record of establishment Democratic candidates has not been good over the last 10 years. Why do you think that this kind of candid talk about how to do things differently can succeed in a district like yours?
Well, I think you used the word candid, and that's the right word. That voters are looking for people who are going to stand up and fight for them. And also they're looking for candidates who are just going to actually be honest with them. It's very easy for somebody like me who's running to say, here's all the stuff I'm going to do when I'm in Congress. And yet we know it's actually very difficult to get things done in Congress. But at least voters will know what I stand for and that I'm going to represent their values. And on the Democratic side, that's more important than ever right now, because you've got an administration that is not representing the values of anybody in this country, to be honest, when I look at it. I don't think that it's an American value to discount women or people of color or children. We need to get back to a place where we're actually acting in a civil way, where we're able to have hard conversations, but that also where we're treating each other with kindness and dignity. I think that's a really important trait in the people that I know and love. I think that's something, it's one of the reasons we decided to raise our daughter in the Midwest, because we know people here take care of each other and look out for one another. But I think that's what people are looking for in their candidates as well, and in their elected officials. They want people who are going to listen to them and who are going to respond honestly and with integrity.
And I have to say that people in the Midwest are also really, really nice. And I've always appreciated that about the Midwest, where I lived for a year. I guess last sort of to start to round things out a little bit, are you getting the support you need now? And are people chipping in and contributing, and how can they do that?
We've had so much support come in after the primary. We have about 65,000 unique donors to my campaign, and we're not taking any corporate PAC money. So I'm really proud of the individual contributions I've had, and I will continue to earn people's money and hopefully their vote in the election. But if people want to contribute, we could always use more support. Eastmanforcongress.com is my website, and every donation helps. We have people who donate $1, and obviously the maximum contribution an individual can give is $2,700. All of those donors are treated equally, because I know how hard it is to give money to a political campaign and feel like your money is going to something good. And I want people to understand that as a nonprofit person, somebody that comes from the nonprofit background, their money will be used wisely, and I will be a good steward of that donation.
Well, I believe you, and I would also say, by the way, just as a closing thought, Kara Eastman, that you might get more done in Congress than you think. It's really striking to me how many Democrats are coming around to the kind of ideas you and I have been talking about here in this interview. I think more and more Democrats are coming around to that. I'm hoping that Democrats have a chance of taking Congress in the coming year. Obviously, there'll still be this president to deal with, and presumably the Senate, but you might have more chance to have an impact. Besides, members of Congress can always help start new political conversations and change the ones we're having. So I wish you the best of luck. And in closing, I would ask, are you having any fun doing this?
We're actually having a blast. I get to go out and talk to people every day, and more importantly, to listen to them and ask them about the things that they care about. And so I do intend to win, and I intend to get things done. That's the reputation that I have in my community, and that's why I'm running. I think if we want to change the system, we need to elect people who are running because they want to change the system.
All right. Well, Kara Eastman, I congratulate you on your primary win. I wish you the best of luck in November. So thanks for running, and thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too.